Meet Shifra and Puah. When we first see them at the beginning of the Exodus story, they're introduced as humble midwives, ha-meyaldot, ha-ivriyot. This can mean the Israelite midwives or the midwives of the Israelites, which is a very important difference. They help mothers deliver babies, and they're important here because Paro's murderous plan to kill the Israelite baby boys involves midwives. He tells them, "Here's what you have to do. When an Israelite woman is giving birth, check to see if it's a boy or a girl. If it's a boy, kill it. Tell her that the baby was born dead. If it's a girl, let it live." Initially, we have every reason to think the midwives will go ahead with this plan. Paro has the power to kill people. He's able to afflict an entire nation. It would take a lot of courage to stand up to Paro, but that's exactly what Shifra and Puah do. The Torah tells us that they feared God, and because of that, they let the babies live. When Paro confronts them, they bravely lie, telling him that by the time they get to the Israelite women, they've already given birth and haven't had the opportunity to carry out the orders. Paro is forced to move to his next plan, to throw the baby boys into the Nile. But who knows how many babies Shifra and Puah managed to save in the meantime? There are two traditional ways to read the story of Shifra and Puah. In the first read, Shifra and Puah are themselves actual Israelite women. They're standing up for their friends and family, willing to risk death so that their people don't suffer. The confusing part of seeing them as Israelites is why Paro would have thought they'd carry out his plan at all. One possible reason, Paro assumes that everyone is afraid of him, and he doesn't think that people have courage of their own or that they're willing to take a stand for what they believe is right. Another possible reason is that historically, the Israelites haven't always been great about protecting each other. After all, the way the Israelites wound up in Egypt in the first place was because Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. Maybe Paro figures that this is a people who don't look out for each other. Shifra and Puah are the first to prove that maybe that's not true. The second way of reading the story and the phrase ha-meyaldot, ha-ivriyot is that Shifra and Puah are Egyptian midwives who help Israelite women give birth. In some ways, this reading of the story makes a lot more sense. Of course, Paro would assume that Egyptian midwives would be willing to carry out his order and kill Israelite babies. Why would they not? Like the rest of the Egyptians, Paro figures these midwives are afraid of the Israelites and willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they're controlled. In this reading of the story, Shifra and Puah's active resistance is a little less obvious, but deeply important. It shows us that all Egyptians are not the same. There are some, like Paro and the taskmasters, who are willing to do whatever it takes to maintain power and control. But there are others, like Shifra and Puah, and like Bat Paro, like Paro's daughter herself, who rescues baby Moshe from the Nile. These Egyptians fear God and are willing to look out for babies and vulnerable women, and are willing to take chances with their own lives rather than go against their own consciences. Who do you think Shifra and Puah, ha-meyaldot, ha-ivriyot are? Israelites who saw their chance to stand up for their community, or Egyptians who knew what they were commanded to do was wrong? Either way, this act of courage is what sets the whole story of the Exodus, the Israelites' freedom from slavery, into motion.